welcome to Journey Church to all of you who are here this morning in person and all of those who are listening online. The month of November, we've been looking at the spirituality of food. This morning, from Paul's letter to the church at Corinth, chapter 12, we take a look at adding substance to the soup. Recognize that the very molecules that make up your body, the atoms that construct the molecules, are traceable to the crucibles that were once the centers of high-mass stars that exploded their chemically rich guts into the galaxy, enriching pristine gas clouds with the chemistry of life, so that we are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. That's kind of cool. That makes me smile, and I actually feel quite large at the end of that. It's not that we are better than the universe. We are part of the universe. We are in the universe, and the universe is in us. That thought comes from Neil deGrasse Tyson, an astrophysicist who is the heir apparent to Carl Sagan of the famed Cosmos series. I can't help but imagine that were the Apostle Paul writing today to the church at Corinth, or to the church in Coralville called Journey, he would be using the imagery that Tyson offers. Down to the very molecule, we are connected to all of creation, and every connected molecule is important and a manifestation of the holy. We tend to describe our experience of how we came into existence and how we relate to our understanding of creation through the moments of life that have had an impact on us. We define God, describe the experience of the holy, articulate our connection to the Sacred One, and offer an understanding of our faith journey in words and images that speak to our uniqueness. So, I'm not Paul, and I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson. My experience of the sacred ground of being is different than theirs, as it is probably different than yours. But I do understand what it means to be connected to the whole, what it means to be a part of the totality of all creation. So allow me to share a different image with you that I have of what it might mean to be connected to each other, what it might mean to be connected to the holy, and what it might mean to be connected to Journey Church. This is November, after all. It's that time of the year when all things food matter. Of course, the imagery that I resonate with relates to food. Much of my understanding of God comes from the experience of enough food for all and room at the table for everyone. And this series is, by the way, about the spirituality of food. So here's a story for you. A person who'd been battered by the rigors of life rode his horse down the road on his way from here to there. It was late afternoon, and the man was tired and hungry. Up ahead, he saw a small village. I'll get something to eat there and find a place for the night, he thought. Suddenly, the horse tripped, throwing the man to the ground. As he brushed himself off, he saw that the horse had stumbled over a rock sticking out of the ground in the middle of the road. He walked back to the rock and, with the help of a stick, dug it out of the earth. It was a splendid rock, almost perfectly round and smooth. Always wanted to turn an obstacle into an opportunity, the man put the rock in his saddlebags, climbed upon his horse, and continued into the village. As he rode past the first houses, the village people stopped their work to stare. He waved to several of the townsfolk, but no one waved back. Dismounting, the man approached a woman standing in front of a small house. Good evening, he said cheerfully. Could you spare a bit of food for a hungry man? And the woman shook her head sadly and sighed, We've had a poor harvest. There's barely enough for our family. I'm sorry. With these words, she walked into the house. Well, the man continued to the next house where a farmer was working on his wagon. Do you have a place at your table for a hungry traveler?" he asked. "It didn't rain during the last month before harvest," the farmer said. "What little we have is needed for our children." At every home he visited, the frustrated traveler heard the same story. The harvest had been poor. There was not enough food to make it through the winter. The family needed grain for seed. Completely discouraged and very hungry, the man tied his horse to the branch of a tree and sat down. "In a few weeks, these poor people will be as hungry as I am," he thought. "I wish I could help them find food." Suddenly, an idea hit him. He reached into his saddlebag, took out the stone, and addressed the villagers. "Ladies and gentlemen," our hero shouted, "you are fortunate that I came to your town. I have in my hands a special rock that will help take you through the long winter. This is a magic rock. With it, you can make stone soup." "Stone soup?" an old man repeated. "I've never heard of stone soup." "The wonder of stone soup," the transient continued, "is that it not only feeds hungry people, it helps bring people together. Now, who has a large empty iron kettle?" Well, quickly a huge iron pot was found and delivered to the man in a wheelbarrow. "The kettle is barely large enough, but it will do," the transient said. Now we must fill the pot with water and start a fire." Eager hands carried buckets of water and firewood. Soon the pot was placed over a roaring fire. As the water began to boil, the sojourner dramatically raised the magic stone over his head, and then he gently placed it in the kettle. "The stone looks just like the ones we have in our backyard," a little boy whispered to his mother. The mother picked up the boy and assured him, "You can't tell if something is magic by looking at the outside." "The stone soup needs salt and pepper," the man announced. 2 children ran to find salt and pepper. After the water had boiled for a few minutes, the man sipped the brew. "This stone soup makes excellent soup, but it would be better if we had a few carrots." "Well, I have a few carrots that I'm willing to share," a farmer replied. Immediately, his daughter ran home and returned with an apron full of carrots. "Oh, it's too bad the harvest was so bad," the inventive cook said sadly. "Stone soup is always more tasty when we add a cabbage or two." "I think I know where to find cabbage," a young mother shouted over her shoulder as she left for home. When she returned, she was carrying 3 large cabbages. Well, the man was busy slicing carrots and cabbages. The last time I made stone soup was at the castle of a rich man. He added a few potatoes and a bit of beef. Several people talked quietly. A bit of beef, and we can eat like rich people," they whispered. They went home and soon returned not only with beef and potatoes, but milk, onions, and barley. By the time the soup was ready, it was almost dark. Men brought large tables, women brought soup bowls, and others carried cider and bread. It was the most delicious soup they'd ever smelled, and to think it all came from a magic stone. After everyone ate their fill, people brought out their fiddles, they danced and they sang until the wee hours of the night. Never had people experienced such a wonderful party. The next morning, the whole village gathered to say goodbye to their new friend. As he mounted his horse, a small child cried, "You're forgetting the magic stone." "I'm leaving the stone with you as a gift," the man smiled. The God that I know is the God of abundance. The God that I know is the God who longs to be connected to us and longs for us to be connected to each other. The God I know is the God who has gifted each of us with ample abilities. When we set aside the mindset of scarcity, the idea that there's only enough for me and mine, when we open ourselves to the reality that we are connected to each other and God, rather than isolated from each other, when we begin to share out of the gifts we have instead of resenting others for what we don't have, then we begin to live in the present moment of sacredness, often called the realm of God. We are creating a stone soup of sorts here at Journey. Each of us adds substance to the soup we call ministry when we share our own special gifts with everyone else. Without your gift added to the pot, this ministry that could be a rich, soul-satisfying, spirit-filling broth ends up as nothing more than warmed over water. Herman Melville wrote, "We cannot live only for ourselves. 1,000 fibers connect us with our fellow human, and among those fibers, as sympathetic threads, our actions run as causes, and they come back to us as effects." Martin Luther King Jr. mused that it really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one destiny affects all indirectly. I would suggest that we are indeed connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically, as well as spiritually. We are called by God to change lives through the gifts that we have been given, called to change lives through the gifts we already have. If you don't believe that God has called you, specifically called you to be a part of the whole, you risk coming to the end of your life with all your potential left in you. And what a waste of gifts that would be. As we continue this journey together, I invite you to explore a bit deeper how God is calling you to participate in one of the existing ministries we have, or in a new ministry that you feel called to help start, whether it be in person or online. I invite you to continue to add substance to this stone soup called Journey Church. Just a thought.